Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how I do this makeup. We're going back to the basics. This is the makeup that I wear anytime that I actually wear makeup to work. And yeah, I get a lot of questions about how I do my eyebrows and how I do my winged liner. So in this video, I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to try and be as descriptive and helpful as possible. And I'm also going to show you how I do my base makeup, blush, my no eyeshadow, and my contour. Yeah, I'm really excited to film today because I'm using my ring light from Amy, Danielle, Taylor, and Merla. Thank you so much for getting that for me. And I'm also filming on my new camera. This is the first video that you guys get to see with that, so hopefully the quality is pristine. Yeah, let's get into it. So one of the great debates in makeup is whether you should do your eye makeup first or your face makeup first. Personally, I usually do my face makeup first, but on days where I'm doing crazy eyeshadow looks, I like to do my eye makeup first so that if I get any fallout, I can cover it up with my foundation and I don't ruin all the hard work that I did. But regardless of which you do first, today we're going to do face. One thing that you should be doing before you apply your foundation is using primer. Primer lays the base for your foundation. Of course, you want to have clean and moisturized skin to start with, so you should be cleansing your face and moisturizing, obviously. But primer can really change a foundation, and if you have a foundation that you found that you don't really like, or you're just not, it's not working for you, maybe try using a different primer, or try using a primer if you're not using one at all. For a while, I was using the Primed and Peachy primer by Too Faced. It is really good, and I do really like this. Lately, I've been using the Fenty Profiltr primer. I also got this little sample of Becca Skin Love. This one I really like just because of the scent. This one feels really great to apply. It's like applying a moisturizer. And this one fills my pores. So when I apply my face makeup, my pores don't appear as large, and it's also mattifying. I've also used the Sephora, no, that's not it. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I'll put the name of it somewhere on the screen right here. Yeah. But whatever brand it was, it's really silicone-y and lots of people love it, but I found it didn't really work for me and primer just slicked around. So if you have oily skin, make sure you're using something that's oil-free and mattifying, or something that just isn't slippery. Yeah, you want it to dry down or be tacky, one of the two. You don't want it to be kind of like, I hope you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, today I think I'm going to use my Fenty one. Yeah. And I just like to apply a couple dots of that and spread it on my face. Some people use a brush, but I just use my fingers. I've used a brush before, and I find that either the brush soaks up a lot of it, or I'm using the only foundation brush I have, and then my foundation brush is like sticky and dirty. So yeah, I just like to use my fingers. Next, you should be applying foundation. Some people like to spot conceal, color correct, and all that first. I just apply my foundation first. So I've used a galore of drugstore foundations, and I've spent so much money trying to find new drugstore foundations just because they're cheaper, and I haven't liked a single one of them. So a few people did suggest some drugstore foundations that I might like, but when I tried the Too Faced Peach Perfect one, I fell in love. This one was recommended by the Stila. She's another YouTuber, and it lasts for hours and hours and hours. It looks really good. It's only about medium coverage, but that works for me because I have some pretty high coverage concealers. I have the Fenty Beauty one. I can't find the right shade for me for the life of me, despite the fact that their shade range is so huge. I find all of the ones that are around my skin tone or skin lightness are too yellow. So we'll keep experimenting with that. I like this one because it looks like your skin, but better. but I don't like how it wears throughout the day on my skin. It gets really oily. It doesn't seem to matter what powder I use or what primer I use. So this one, I have it around because it looks nice when you first apply it, but it doesn't last very well. And more recently, I got the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. I really like this one so far. It's definitely more of a satin finish, whereas this one's more of a matte finish. But it lasts really well and it looks really good on my skin. Today, I think I'm going to use the peach one because I know that it works well and this is supposed to be like my basics. The Double Wear, I've only gotten to wear probably 3 or 4 times, so yeah, I just pumped that onto the back of my hand. Also, Double Wear, one of the cons is it doesn't come with a pump. You can buy a pump for it, but that's just like, I think it's like $14 for the pump. And of course you can reuse it, but it's just an extra thing. Yeah, so for my foundation, you may have seen this in my last video, but I just dot it on my skin. Whatever foundation you're using, if you know that it dries down fast, please don't dot all over your face because then it's just impossible to blend. Do it in sections if it dries down fast so that you can blend it out and you don't see obvious circles at the end. So I like to just use a damp sponge. I've used a brush here and there, but it's pretty rare. I like my sponge. And you don't want to be like smudging it or rubbing it. It should just be bouncing off of your skin, like so. You don't need to apply as much pressure as you might think. You obviously want to make sure it's blended, but if you're pressing too hard, then you're actually lifting the foundation off of your skin rather than pressing it in. You're just lifting it and soaking it up in your sponge. So that's another reason why I like to dot it on my face first. Some people dab their sponge right in the foundation and you're just soaking up all that foundation right into your sponge. So that just seems silly to me. Also with any foundation, if it says it's a certain coverage, that doesn't mean that it's going to come straight out of the bottle that way. So if they say it's full coverage, that doesn't mean it's going to start full coverage. For one, companies lie. But secondly, sometimes it's buildable. So you want to start with a little bit of product, see how it goes, and then add more if you need it. That's like the rule of thumb for anything, because as I've said before, you can add more, but it's a lot harder to take away. Also, the pink stains on my eye are just from a rainbow lick I did yesterday. There's a lot of pressed pigments people don't know that go into brightly colored eyeshadows, and some of them are technically actually not supposed to be used on the eyes despite the fact that they're in an eyeshadow palette. So if you're experiencing staining, it's very normal with a pressed pigment. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of my foundation because if you saw, I only applied it from here up. You need to blend down onto your neck. Even if it's the exact same color, I swear you should blend it anyway because under some lighting, it might look the same color. But that doesn't mean it looks the same color under all lighting. Like I know some people say the ultimate test is to get into your car after doing your makeup inside the house and looking into that mirror. Now I'm going to go in with my Too Faced multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Nude. You guys have seen me do this before, but I swear there's going to be some new stuff in here. I swear. I'm not using a lot of this because I found that this is actually a really thick concealer and sometimes it just looks like too much makeup under my eye, especially when I powder. So I'm just doing a little bit right under the eye bag. So as Jackie Aina taught me, it's best to blend just the edges first. Also, like if you want your concealer to really pay off and it's not a drying concealer, you should let it dry down first, but ain't nobody got time for that. But if you just blend out the ends of where you applied it first, then you're keeping more of that product actually where you applied it. And I'm going in with very light dabs right under the eyes because that's where I want all that coverage. Also, guys, your beauty sponges are probably disgusting. Like, I don't know if you've ever cut one open, but I did one time, and like it wasn't mold or anything, but you could just see like a thin little layer of where makeup, even though on the surface it looked clean, was still inside. So what I started doing is I actually take the sponge every time I go to wet my sponge to damp it to use it. I take a little bar of soap and I just rub it in there. So I'm washing it every single use. I know that seems a bit obsessive, but honestly, it only takes like 15 seconds longer than it would to wet it in the first place. And I know that my makeup applicator is clean. They should also be replaced every couple months. So if you've had your same sponge for a year, please do yourself a favor and get a new one. Not only is it just gross, but also like the texture changes and you'll start to see little dips. Like I'm due for a new one. Like it's a sponge. It doesn't last forever. You don't use the same dish sponge on all of your dish soaps, on all of your dishes for a year. So yeah, get a new one. Anyway, so I'm gonna put a little bit on my chin as well. Just a smidge. Cupid's bow, corners of my nose because I tend to have some coverage issues there. A little bit on the tip of my nose and the bridge of my nose. Also, guys, depending on your concealer applicator, if you have this much product coming off, can you see that? Focus. Just wipe it off. Just wipe it off. You don't need to apply that much product. It's just going to spread around and then your concealer won't actually be concentrated on the highlights of your face anymore. You'll just have a paler face, but a little bit on my forehead. So again, I'm just going to take my beauty sponge and blend these out. And then I like to use the pointy part of this sponge rather than the big part to do stuff like this. Next, it's powder time. Everyone knows, if you watched any other video of mine, that I like this powder and this powder, and I intend to try more, but yeah, I'm going to use the peach one because it's my absolute favorite. Some days, if my application is going well, and I've done a face mask recently too, some days it makes me look poreless, so that's really nice. Where did my sponge go? There we go. So I like to apply this with a sponge, dotting it in, and then I squeeze it to get off any excess. You can't see what I'm doing. Yeah. And then tap it on. So I'm basically applying that where I applied concealer, but then I'm spreading it out to any other areas with what's left on my sponge. Partially because it's like baking. You know, you bake the high points of your face. But partially because where I applied concealer, there is more product than everywhere else. So it's a little bit tackier and there's a little more product that could slip around. So I want to really make sure that those areas are locked into place with my powder. Setting powder or loose powder is definitely a very important step in a makeup routine, especially if you're oily, if you have big pores, anything like that. Powder is something that changed my face makeup. It made my makeup actually last and stop slipping around all the time, which was a big problem for me. So apparently there's lots of drugstore powders that work really well. Some of them aren't as oil controlling, but even more than primer, even more than setting spray, if you're not using powder, you should be. Okay, so next I like to do my eyebrows. I actually like to do my brows before blush or contour or anything like that, because I feel like once you have your brows and your foundation done, then it's like you don't have to do anything more if you don't want to. So first, you need an eyebrow brush. It doesn't really matter what brush it is, but it should be angled, and a spoolie is really helpful. I used to use, this came with a naked palette, and I used to use this end of the brush to do my brows, so you'd never have a sharp line, and I just apply like this shimmery brown powder. Yeah, no, get yourself an eyebrow brush. You can use powder if you like, just please make sure it's matte. It doesn't have to be made for your eyebrows, it just needs to be matte. I like to use dipbrow, but I like to go in light-handed. one of the key things to having good eyebrows. Like, as you can see, my eyebrows are really sparse. They're not the same on both sides. That's fine. Just make sure that you start with like the proper foundation. For some people, it's helpful to draw on their brows and then pluck. I just like to pluck because I think I know what shape my eyebrows are by now. But eyebrows will look way better when they're cleaned up on the ends, because otherwise they just look a little bit messier. So now we get into the real stuff. So with your angled pencil, you want it to be thin. And if it's not thin, like fine, I mean, on the tip. I don't care how wide it is this way, I mean fine. If it's not fine, then you can dip it into a little bit of water and pinch it. And that'll make the bristles stick together, because you want to have, at least I want to have, really defined lines. I don't want, if a big brush just isn't precise enough for me. So then you dip in a tiny little bit into your pot and wipe off on the edge. So in the end, you don't actually have a ton of product on your brows. As I've said in previous tutorials, I like to do a line on the bottom, line on the top, and then fill it in starting from the outside. I'm gonna brush through one more time. Any stray hairs can really mess up your eyebrows, so. And the science of brows is that your arch should be somewhere between your pupil and the end of your brush. If you take it to the edge of your nose, the start should be around here, and the very end should be out to the outer corner of your eye. Yeah, mine aren't perfect, but they work for me, so. So you can already tell that I don't have enough product anymore. So I'm going to dip back in very lightly, wiping off the excess as usual. And I'm going to continue that top line. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now, there's actually a lot of product on the top line, so I'm going to wipe off my brush without dipping back in. And then I'm going to start filling the rest of my brow in with the product that's left. So I start at the arch. Make sure that's all filled in. And then I start to work my way down toward the center of my face. Oh, Bella. That's my dog, by the way. I live with my family, so there's probably a lot of noises when I film that aren't coming from me, but yeah, so that's one eyebrow done. So I'm just gonna do my other brow. It's the same deal. One usually turns out better than the other. I don't really know which one, to be honest, but yep. And then I'm going to take my spoolie and brush through one more time to make sure that any obvious unwanted lines are gone and that my eyebrow hairs are all going in the direction I want them to. So you want to brush your eyebrows up towards the arch, and then for me, I brush the ends down. Yeah, that's my brows. They aren't Instagram brows. They're definitely not as subtle as they could be, but this is how I like them. Next step doesn't really matter to me which you do first. I usually do my blush and my contour first, but sometimes lately I've been waiting to do that because I have a couple different shades of blush now and I try and match them to my eye look. But we'll do it next, because if I did really basic makeup, I would be doing my blush next. So one of my favorite blushes is really, really old, but it's this Too Faced Sweetheart Perfect Flush Blush. Perfect Flush Blush. That's it. I also like Orgasm by NARS because who the hell doesn't? The brush that you're using is important. I have two favorite blush. I can't say blush, guys. I have two favorite blush brushes. Blush brush. You get the idea. So some people like to use brushes shaped like this. I don't know why. I don't like it. I don't like how they fit on my cheek. So like if I used a brush like this, it would apply very concentrated right here, and then it wouldn't be so concentrated everywhere else. I guess you could use the side, but I don't like it. One that I use for a very long time is this shape. It's by NYX Cosmetics, and I just like how it applies. I think it's the right size for my cheeks. But lately I also got this brush from Morphe, and I think it's meant to be a contour brush, but I find it, oh, there's still product on there. It hugs your cheeks really well. Yeah, it's just like such a great shape. So I think I'm gonna use that today. If your blush isn't coming out very pigmented, chances are it's hella cheap. But if not, and it's actually like a high-end blush, that's just because it's old and you need to dig into it. So that's what happened to me with both of my NARS and my two Faced blushes. I got them in high school. Makeup expires, by the way, but who has money for that? Anyway, you want to swirl it if you're not getting any pigment payoff. Some people smile lately. I don't really do that. I just do that on camera because I know that's what you're supposed to do, but I'll try and apply it the way I normally do. Yeah, so I do little circles right here, and then I drag it up. And there was a while where I did the editorial thing where you go all the way like this. Blush is something that I hated for a while, but now I'm like, oh, makes or breaks a look. I saw a tweet the other day actually that was like, did anyone else on makeup Twitter like go through a phase where they just hated blush? And there were so many people who did, so that's a thing. Yeah. Blush. Now I look alive. It's amazing. I don't really contour that much. Like I want to get a creme contour kit and see how it goes, but I usually just take a little bit of this shade from the Kat Von D contour kit. It's like a cool toned brown. You don't want to be contouring with something too warm because then that's just bronzer. But I just take that underneath, and I don't take a lot of it. I'm not really trying to chisel my face. I'm just trying to accentuate it. So I like to do my jawline too because I always wanted to have like a Mila Kunis heart-shaped face, and I don't. So this is my way of making myself feel okay about that. For highlights, I have become a little Morphe girl, and I take this classic Morphe brush that all the gurus use. But previously I would take a brush like this. That works. I would also take my fingers and then just blend it out. Whatever works for you, and it totally depends on what formula you're using. Some of my favorite highlighters are obviously by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This one is the, oh, I can't even see it anymore, it's so old. This one's the Sun Dipped Glow Kit. This was the first Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit I got. I really liked it, but two of the shades are too dark. And then I also have their Moonchild one, but that's really for artsy looks. Sorry, my boyfriend just called me. You'll probably see him on my YouTube channel sometime. Like, when I told him I wanted to do this, he's like, do you want me to be on your YouTube channel? Like, he offered without me bringing it up, so that's gonna happen sometime, but right now we're filming in my teeny washroom, so it's kind of hard to arrange. Anyway, he called, so filming ended, but back to it. I also have this glow kit by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's the Sugar Glow Kit. It's broken, but there's some really gorgeous shades in it, and I started to use the shade Starburst, which is a very light pink, very regularly. And there's also the shade Marshmallow, which is like a very light gold, which works well for fair skin. But another one of my favorites is Stila. I've got their shade Kitten, and this is like the Heaven's Hue highlighter. So it's the one that, like, if you press into it, I'd leave a fingerprint, like it's putty. But it's a really gorgeous shade as well. This one I find is more subtle than anything by Anastasia Beverly Hills, but it's also less powdery because of the formula. So I do really like it for that reason. This one I like to apply with my finger regularly, so we're gonna do that today. So you should be applying to see how when I turn my head, that's where the light goes. Up here. Like a little bit right here. You see it on the tip of my nose, right here, and a little bit right here. That's where you should be applying highlighter. So it's different for everyone's face. You can figure it out, again, by taking a really bright light and looking at where it goes. If you don't have powder on or you don't have a matte foundation, you'll be able to see this a lot easier because your skin is a little bit shinier. Anyway, it also helps to start at the corner of your eye and then go down, because a lot of people are notorious for bringing their highlighter all the way across their cheeks like it's blush, and it's not, okay? Yeah, just a little bit on my finger. Then I'm gonna take it on this like pencil brush or whatever these are called, and tip of my nose, bridge of my nose, Cupid's bow, underneath the brow, and a little more on my finger just for above the brow. The next thing that for me is basic, it's not a smoky eye, it's not anything like that, it's winged eyeliner. For the longest time, I couldn't find a good eyeliner that wouldn't transfer. And partially it was the eyeliner that I was using, but another big part of it was just that I have oily eyelids. So with oily eyelids, you want to apply a primer and a powder. So I'm going to take my Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion in the shade Original. You can use any eye primer that isn't thick and tacky, because thick and tacky means that if you have double lids like me or hooded eyelids, it's going to crease and it's going to transfer. So I really like this one. The only time I've started using concealer on my eyelids is if I'm doing a really colorful makeup look that I don't care if it lasts, because it soaks up pigment really well. But yeah, for anything wearable that I want to last, I'm using a regular primer. And then you can either take a little bit of setting powder or a neutral eyeshadow color and just put it all over your lid. You can use a brush, but I find a finger is faster. This is just to set that down. I told you guys, setting powder is your friend. There we go, we're all set. Oh, you know what I forgot? It's a pro tip. My easiest makeup where I want to look like I tried and wore makeup, I take my blush and my highlighter and I put it on my eyes. So what you're gonna do is take a blending brush like this one by Makeup Forever and dip into your blush and just apply it to the crease. Now I have eyelids that are intentionally pink and not just stained that way. It's subtle, right? And then everything is monochromatic and it matches. Yay! But then you're also gonna take your highlighter and put a little bit of that right on the center and then on the inner corner of your eyelids. It's like the quickest, easiest eyeshadow that you could do. On to winged eyeliner. Winged eyeliner is something that if you get it right, you can do it every day. But I know for a lot of people it doesn't work that way, so I only like using brush tip eyeliners. I don't know, I've tried other stuff and I don't like it. I don't like gel, I don't like pencil, I don't like felt tip because it drags on my eyelid. I like brush tip. And for the longest time, I thought that Kat Von D's Tattoo Liner was the only good brush tip eyeliner, because I heard everyone else's favorite eyeliner was felt tip. But I got the NYX Epic Ink liner, and it's a brush tip. I've noticed that it is blacker than Kat Von D's, but it doesn't last as long. But we're gonna use it anyway because Kat Von D has been a little problematic and we don't want to be involved with that now, do we? Just before that, I like to curl my lashes before I do my eyeliner. Because I bring my lash curler in really close to my eyelid, I have taken off my eyeliner accidentally with my eyelash curler before. So now I'm gonna shake this a little bit. And basically you wanna do a line from the outer corner of your eye to the tail end of your brow, obviously not all the way up, and then in. I'll show you. Oh wow, that's not how I do my eyeliner. Let's do the other side. That's how I do my eyeliner. Don't ask me what that is. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This is really hard because I'm using my front cam and I'm just using my phone as a monitor. I'm not doing this in mirror, so. Yeah, so you do the line out to the tail end of your brow and then you drag it in towards your eye. Depending on your eye shape, you just have to practice a lot and get to know what works for your eye shape. But personally, I find it's easiest if you start with the outside, then line towards the inside, and then fill it in. So let's use a mirror now. This will probably be a better idea. Then I'm just gonna take the very tip of the brush and thinly line against my eyelashes all the way to the inner corner. Notice I'm doing it bit by bit. Because one thing that can really mess up your winged eyeliner is if the inner corner is too thick. The inner corner should be as razor thin as possible for a winged eyeliner, and it should gradually get bigger. If you're doing your winged liner and it's thick on the inside, it just looks messed up. Yeah. So with a very thin line now, I'm gonna thicken the center because all of here is super thin and then here it gets thick. You want it to be gradual, right? Yeah, so bit by bit you make it a little bit thicker. Now I'm going to fill in the tail end. And that's how I do my winged eyeliner. Now I'm gonna do my other eye off camera because that gave me a hard time trying to do it with this front cam, so yeah, be right back. Okay, the other wing is on. I didn't take off that screwed up line, I just worked with it, so they don't match perfectly, but that's okay. As long as they're about the same thickness. And yeah, so you can see this one goes up higher and this one goes lower. So that's gonna throw you off, but if they're the same thickness, you can usually pull it off because no one's face is symmetrical anyway. If one line's thicker than the other, then again, you look insane, so don't do that. I don't apply fake eyelashes on a regular basis. That's just a pain to me, and if they start to come off, then your whole makeup for the day looks a little bit wonky. So my trick to fake eyelashes, or to not having them, is to use an eyelash primer. Yeah, I don't care what one you use, it's little fiber extensions and they just make your eyelashes a little bit longer. You also want to make sure that you curled your lashes like we did earlier to give them the best chance at being luscious. And then I'm going to use the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. If your mascara isn't coming out the way you think it used to, it's probably because it's old and dry, so get a new one. It's really unfortunate the mascara seemed to do this so quickly, like before you can even use the whole thing, but anyway. And if you're really bad about transferring onto your upper lid like I am, tilt your head back and look down at your mirror. Again, thank you, Jackie Ina, for telling me. And I do my lower lashes. I don't know who said not to, but I do. And here you're gonna do the opposite. So tilt your head forward and look at your mirror. However, I only do my bottom lashes lightly, so I won't coat it on. Last but not least, I always apply a setting spray before I go anywhere. I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but I do it anyway because it makes you feel fancy. So I only have the mini size right now, but there's the Too Faced Peach Mist one, which is mattifying. I like it a fair bit. I also have the Hangover 3-in-1. Some people have had issues with Too Faced setting sprays leaving like tiny white dots, and basically you need to shake it up quite a bit and make sure you're spraying from the distance that it tells you to, but mostly you want to shake it. Otherwise, I also have the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I think those are all the setting sprays I've used. Anyway, I'm gonna use the Hangover one today. And that's it for my base makeup. This is my back to the basics. This is how I do my makeup any day that I actually do my makeup for work. Oh, I lied. I always do this. There's one thing. Lip gloss. I don't really wear lipstick like I did in high school. In high school I wore every color of the rainbow, but now I wear lip gloss. This is the Fenty Gloss Bomb. This is the shade Fenty Glow, but I also have Fussy, and I really like Fussy. I just don't have it on hand, and I don't feel like going to get it, So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe, please. If I get 100 subscribers, then I can change my URL to something other than XVCQR10 blah blah blah. I can have a custom URL. Like it if you liked this video, comment, let me know what you thought, let me know what else you want to see, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you again soon.